old buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking, but be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ? I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Morning from the hurricane capital of the world today. We're all trying to dodge this hurricane, and another Florida resident has the same problem. He's headed to Orlando for a big event, and we're so honored to have back on the program Coach Urban Meyer. Coach, Brendan and I are very happy to see you. Hope you're drying well.
Yeah, we got a little hurricane rolling. I think it's gonna stay offshore pretty much and hit the Big Bend area. But you know, the wind's not the problem. It's that thing called storm surge. So everybody here is kind of keeping an eye on that.
Yeah. Been there, done that down that part of the country. It's always scary. Well, we do have football. One thing about hurricanes, it means it's fall, football. And Urban, I was thinking about this interview this morning. We'd like to talk about all the positive things in college football because we love it so much. You and I and Brendan. And I was thinking to myself, we could go on with a litany of things that are not right about college football right now, but it's still the great game that we love. So let's talk about, first of all, the good things about college football. What a crazy season, Urban.
Yeah, the level of play has never been greater. You know, when I covered Ohio State, I covered not Georgia personally, but Texas personally. And what I've noticed about these teams, and I actually talked to a couple of the coaches about this, when we won those championships in 06 and 08, we had weaknesses on those teams. You know, everyone had weaknesses. Most of the generations of college, matter of fact, all have. You know what you see now? There's really no weaknesses on Texas, Georgia, or Ohio State because the weaknesses that were weaknesses, they went and fixed in the transfer portal. So I went through each one of those rosters, and obviously at Georgia, I just haven't seen them personally, so I can't gauge them. I like to see a team, what they look like up close. But, you know, when your right guard was a struggle or an issue after spring practice, that didn't change. You had to deal. You just had to plan around it. You know, now, you know, I kind of joke around and say, you know, you're like a genie, and all of a sudden a new right guard shows up. You know, you pay some money, go steal from someone's team, and it's just it's interesting. But the level of play's never been better. There's a great storyline. There's been great upsets. There's been, you know, I cannot wait to get to Central Florida to watch Coach Prime and Travis Hunter is one of the greatest players I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Wow, two-way player. And he's something else. Well, I'm looking. We're going to talk about that game, and I know you're going to be there. McNeil will be there. It's going to be a big, big weekend. I love all these new teams coming to Orlando now that they're members of the Big 12, all these Texas teams especially. And if I'm sitting in Gainesville, I got enough problems to worry about, but I don't like that part of the TV market, you know, being crunched away. So it's a challenge for the Gators and the Gator fans as well as just the sort of, I won't say upstart because they've been in it for a long time. Gus Malzahn's been building, waiting for this moment. This could be his moment.
It should. And they run the ball as good as any team in the country. They got the Jefferson player quarterback from Arkansas. He's 250 pounds, and obviously he's a hell of a coach, Gus Malzahn. So they scheme up a really aggressive run game. Colorado has struggled historically over the last couple of years. However, they're much better on defense. So a real intriguing matchup. I can't believe I think it's a 14-point spread. When I saw that, I was like, that kind of shocked me. But it's also, I've done it with a team. Don't devalue a team from the altitude coming to Orlando in September. You know, here's a guy that's playing 140 snaps a game, and Travis Hunter. I'm sure they are. That guy better be drinking Gatorade after Gatorade after Gatorade right now. Don't wait for it during the game. So hydration and cramping will be an issue for Colorado.
Yeah. Talking to your friend Steve Spurrier about those things recently, and he was a little surprised about how Florida comes out early for an hour and in the sun to work. When you were at Florida, what did you do about that? The heat you'd had to deal with all the time. Steve didn't think they should be out there, his opinion. It wasn't criticizing that you don't want your players out in that sun any more than you want, especially in late August or September. Those are factors. Talk about some of the things you did at Florida to deal with the heat and swamp.
Well, I learned, I was kind of, I wanted a tough team. And so I remember when I first got there, and back in the old training camp days where you had 2 days all the time, they told me you have to go early and then go late. And I said, no, screw it. We're going to go. We're going to toughen these guys up, and what a mistake that was. So eventually I figured out the 110 heat index. First of all, it's not safe. So we adapted right away. I learned a lesson. And then, Coach Mick also was educated. He's from the Midwest like I am. So we both learned along the way. And absolutely, pregame, you're out there briefly. You don't want to, you only have so many opportunities. You don't want to waste them in warm-ups. So, yeah, we cut way back. I didn't know the Gators do that, but that's certainly something that we learned along our journey.
Yeah, well, speaking of learning, certainly learning curve at Florida, a lot of Gator fans. I know you've been bombarded with people and calls and requests for interviews. And we don't have to go deep into it, but I know you are a man of great pride. The record you put up there at Florida, unbelievable. And Steve, and the two of you together are the gold standard at Florida. In a way, it's a curse for whoever the coach is. And you said on the interview the other day, I heard you talking about no greater place to play than the swamp. It's like a jet plane behind you, the noise and stuff like that. I want to ask you to appeal to you on your pride right now. Not as a coach criticizing. I talked to Coach Spurrier about this, and it's me as a guy who feels like he has a stake in this thing. I went to school there; it's my school, whatever. That is to say, it hurts on so many levels to see what you and Steve built, this unbelievable championship run, become eroded. And I'm afraid now we're at that level where some of it's been eroded. It'll never affect what you guys did, but Florida is now a laughing stock to some people, and it's just not getting better. Urban, tell me how you deal with it as a Gator.
Well, Coach Spurrier celebrated his 58th anniversary, and so Shelley and Jerry talked, and so I reached out to Coach to congratulate 58 years. And he was typical Steve Spurrier, being the great friend that he is. And I asked him, I said, tell me about, because Gainesville is a very unique place. It's you step out your door and there's Gator fans everywhere. When I went to Ohio State on purpose, I moved 18 miles away. Number one, because I wanted to take a breath. Number two, my son was in 7th grade, and I didn't want him to just get bombarded. My kids, Gainesville is great, but everybody's on top of you. And I think most of it was self-driven, but the pressure and Shelley's the outgoer, and she wants, hey, let's go here, let's go there. And I'm like, no, I'm not leaving this house. I'm finally got a little peace and quiet here. So I can't imagine Gainesville right now. And I just feel I'm never going to criticize a coach. I'll never do that. But I also feel for him and his family. I really do, because he's a human being. I know they get paid well, et cetera, et cetera. But the reality is that that's a tough, as all top 5, top 10 jobs are, which that no question is a top 5 job. It's tough.
Well, you saw the good times as well. Coach Spurrier, he reached a level there after 12 years. And, you want to go do something new. And sometimes I can see you not appreciate it. Hey, you didn't win a national title or SEC. What the heck's wrong with this team? You went through that same thing, and you went through it at Ohio State. You expected to it. I mean, look right now what's happening at Ohio State. I mean, he's done a fabulous job. His record is unbelievable, but yet people are not happy. So I always think about you the day you went to the restaurant and got booed in Gainesville. I can't believe that happened to you.
Yeah, and I got the bad phone call too. That was, I think, before Mick Huber knew how to put a tape delay. And that was one where I looked at, and I'm looking at these people looking at me. The majority of them didn't want me there, and I'm thinking, why am I here? Why did I? And that the thoughts that go through your mind, it's happened, and that's real. And I'm sure Coach Napier, I'm sure all the coaches have gone through. And I got to keep saying, that's not Florida. That's everywhere. That's the big, like you said, Coach Day has lost the Wolverines a few times, and you think the world's coming to an end. I'm finally at the point in my life where you look back and you're like, and this is hard for you guys to believe that, really? I mean, you lost a game, move on. There's a lot of other issues in life right now. I just had my 5th grandchild, a grandson. And
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, wow.
You look back, and I remember one time at Bowling Green, we lost to Western Michigan. I really didn't know if the sun was going to come up the next day. So, that's maniac coaches. That's what it's like. And most of the guys at that level are maniacs.
Coach, that culture, we talk about, big business, working in big entities and creating a culture of for, I guess, a narrative for your team to sort of rally and cry to get behind. It seems like, in Florida, you talk about Gainesville, it seems like even Gainesville over the last 10 years has become complacent and people are starting to sort of not expect to win as much. Can you talk about like what that means to you as a coach? I know that's probably hard to hear for you because I've heard you enough times talk about how important it is and how important it's been for you to win and create that winning culture, to believe that you can do and surmount all odds. Florida's sort of at that spot right now, or the Gators are at that spot, and in Gainesville. How do you come back, or can you come back, from where they are right now as a program?
Well, I did a video. I can't remember. It might have been with you guys, but it circulated this summer where I made a comment that, and it was not a shot at Coach Napier at all or his staff. It's just reality is, I've always thought Florida and Ohio State, Bowling Green was not. Utah was not. Utah is much better now, but we are in the Mountain West Conference. But Florida and Ohio State, you have everything you need to be the very best in the country at what you do. And so that was the standard. I would start every season in our retreat, and even in our post spring practice meetings with our players, I'd be very clear to say, you don't have to be here. There's plenty of other places where you can have more fun, where it can be, what's the big deal? A matter of fact, there's 100 of them. You can, and I'll help you go wherever you want to go. But if you're going to stay here, you're expected to be the very best in the country at what you do. That's coaches and players. If you're the running back coach at Florida, you better be the #1 running back coach in America. If you're a running back, you better be the #1 running back. And if not, we're going to work to get you there. And it's going to be at times miserable work, because greatness is really hard. And some people, that doesn't make you a bad person if that's not your job description. You have to commit 8 to 10 hours a day or more to be a great player. To a coach, you got to commit more than that. You're talking about 14, 15 hours a day if you want to be the best defensive line coach in the country. So that's the standard. You don't have to be here. There's a lot of people with their hand up that want to come here. And so those are the kind of things that I would always remind myself too. And it's hard. I mean, that living life like that, it's not easy. That's why there's a shelf life on people.
Yeah, Urban, thinking about defense right now, which a lot of people seem to be having problems with. Wow, the amount of points being scored on teams. I mean, you taught me when we were writing the book about the importance of defense when I said, in the plan to win, you say defense is the most important. And I asked you, right? And you said, #1, and you said, I said, well, how do you get to have the best defensive staff? You said you pay them more money.
Yeah, I think there's two things. #1, you always, if I'm an offensive coach, you see Kirby Smart playing incredible. I don't think someone scored a touchdown on them, I read. And that's because he's a defensive coach. He's got Will Muschamp, great minds. When I got hired everywhere, my highest paid guy was always my defense coordinator, always. And I took a great pride in recruiting. It was easy for me to recruit quarterbacks and receivers. That's been my life. But I spent more time recruiting the Carlos Dunlaps and the Brandon Spikeses and the Joe Haydens, Janoris Jenkins, the great, Major Wright, some of those monsters we had on defense. I spent more time on that than I did the offense guys because in my mind, I knew, you don't have to be that really football intelligent to understand you have zero chance of winning if you're not playing great defense. I mean, winning at the level, Lincoln Riley's found that out a little bit. He's a great coach, but they haven't won a conference championship in quite a while. And it's because they haven't played good defense. And so defense has always been numero uno. And I'll add this, that we all play great defense. I would challenge our offensive staff too. Playing great defense doesn't mean the defense. That means the offense coordinator not calling stupid plays. That means the not turning the ball over and putting your defense in bad position. That means I was in charge of kicking game. We're going to play great defense today. You know how? We're not going to allow one punt return yard today, or we're going to go block a punt, whatever it is. But the mentality was play great defense. This entire 85-man roster and 10-person coaching staff is going to play great defense all together. And I think that makes sense to me.
I remember the game, I think it might have been against Arkansas in the SEC championship. When you had a moment on the sideline, you didn't know what to do and whether to go for it or whatever. And he turned to Greg Madison and he said, Coach, let's kick it away and go play great defense, right? Isn't that what he said?
Yeah. He was walking at me. That was after we ran that fake punt on our 10-yard line, which I should have got my head examined, but it worked. And then later in the game, on the same drive, I was so pissed off that I was going to go for it again, and I looked and I trusted Greg, and I flipped over on the headset and I said, Greg, I'm going to go for it. And he looked, didn't yell at me. He just said, punt the ball. Let's go play some great defense. And we did.
Coach, I know you look at tons of games and Big Noon, and you look, you've checked out all the different teams that you need to you get tape on. I don't know how much you've seen of Florida, but could you tell, at least give me your assessment of what's really wrong with the defense in Florida? It seems like they have good personnel, they have good coaching. What do you see as the biggest the problem there on the defensive side of the ball for the Gators?
Yeah, I wish, Brendan, that I studied them more. My schedule isn't as such. We don't really cover the SEC. We're going to talk about Georgia, Alabama, so I did watch some of them. I have not watched Florida at all on tape. I have my computer set up so I get news because I have to be up to date, but I only have so many hours in the day, so to be honest with you, I can't really. I see the numbers, which is alarming, but I can't tell you their personnel and I can't tell you their scheme.
Well, what would you do? I guess this is hypothetically. You have a defense that's not performing. Everyone knows offensively, fundamentals, those kind of things, but you got on the line of scrimmage, they're struggling to get any pressure on the quarterback. Run defenses it seemed to be get pushed around with giant holes. Where do you start with something like that? Is it fundamentals? Is it tackling? Is it, where do you go?
Well, in 2007 was our worst defense we had in our time there. And we had a young defense and we weren't very good. And so, unfortunately, Brendan and Buddy, the time to do that is not now. You're in it now. The ability to foresee a potential issue and fix it and spring and fix it. So what I did is, I had guys like Belichick, I had Monty Kiffin, bless his soul, and I had Paul Pasqualoni come in and spend hours and hours and hours, and I evaluated everything on our defense, and we obviously got much better in 2008. But when you're in the mix, in the thralls of a season, the number one thing is you go right back to your fundamentals and find out why there's an issue and fix it immediately. Fundamental salt. I've said this, and it's in our podcast this week, that I really believe effort overcomes mistakes. And that be the first thing I look and see what's the effort like on defense. Effort and fundamentals solves a lot of problems. Because I got news, there's really not that many smart people. They talk smart, they act smart, and I'm talking about coaches. But you know what they do? They have teams that play with great effort and tackle well and play good fundamentals. I know that's what Kirby Smart does. Everybody thinks he's going to have, and Will Muschamp. I haven't studied them, but I really have studied them. I've studied great defenses. There's not some magic defense. It's effort and fundamentals. And I promise you, if effort and fundamentals improve, all of a sudden defenses improve.
Let's bring it back, Coach. I know you were going to wrap this up. Talk about this weekend. What's happening in Orlando, UCF. We talked about Malzahn. Coach Prime comes in there with a team that's struggling right now. And at the same time, we're looking at Malzahn and UCF as about the team is coming after Florida, that team down south. And they got to get ready for it because this is a good football team. Set the table for me on this weekend's game with that you're covering, and let's talk for a minute about Malzahn, about what he's got building there, and what Florida fans should prepare for.
Well, first of all, when he went to Central Florida from Auburn, he's one of those guys that got fired at Auburn, and I go ask him right now at Auburn, who do you wish you had him back?
Wow.
I've always respected Gus Malzahn, and he's his story is incredible. Coming through the high school ranks all the way up. So I think he's Central Florida is not a good place. It's a great place. People have won there, starting back with George O'Leary. Everybody's won there. And so, I mean, even one year, I think Coach Frost claimed the national championship. That's a winning program. It's in the heart of the best talent in the country. And I'm not shocked at all. They got a long way to go. They got a long way to go, though. I mean, they're good, really good. They're bordering on great. This will be a great measuring stick.
All right, now we got what's happening next when they come to town for the Gators. How would you feel about these interlopers from down in Orlando coming to get some of what you got in Gainesville right now?
I honestly, Central Florida, if Florida is really worried about, all due respect to Central Florida, it's not Florida. And it's going to take a long time to get to the history of Florida. So, all due respect, I mean, I love Central Florida, but as long as me and you, we're still talking about the University of Florida Gators. That's like saying the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's like saying Alabama Crimson Tide, the Texan Longhorns. So once again, that if that's a problem, then that's really a problem.
Brendan, he's still a Gator, and he's got orange and blue blood in him. I can tell.
Well, it's been so long since we talked. Not so long. It's been a while since we talked, and I just forget every time how motivated I feel every time you talk, Coach. You just have something about you that just makes you want to get up and play football. Like I just want to go find my old pads and go out there and go knock them around. Let's go. Play some Oklahoma.
I take the hitting. It's too hard.
It's just it's great, and boy, we sure miss you down here in Gainesville. That's for sure.
Well, it's good to be with you guys.
Hey, Garvin, thanks so much. Good to be with you. Have a great weekend.
Rob, how are you, sir?
That was awesome. I'm with you. Play ball.
I mean, how good an interview is he sometimes, right? I mean, he just, I don't know. Like he really, truly, I'm sitting there, he's just talking about going. I mean, we talk about it in our show, your show, Robin, in the mornings, but it's just like, you get tingly, you just, like some people walk in the room and you just get like that feeling. And God, he just makes you want to go mix it up. Boy, you sure wish Florida could have him.
Well, you do, because it's that we talk about it, those alpha males, and he projects confidence to everybody, and in everything that he says, you're like, okay, everything's under control. He has planned, he's prepared. Every player on that team knows their role, and the 187 wins and 32 losses and 3 national championships. And if he gets back into coaching, he's just going to add a lot to that. My wife, as a volunteer fan, has always said Tennessee should just open the vault and hire him. Who would not want that guy as your football coach?
Well, I think a lot of people have tried to open the vault, haven't they? And it really is like he's in a good place in life. You know what I mean? And he just, like he said in the interview, I've got 5 grandkids now, right? And he's just, he loves his job at Big Noon. Like, the number one show on TV. Like he seems content, but on every interview I've ever done with my dad and him, you always have a moment where you're like, man, he just gets you just sort of riled up. And I'm sorry about the audio in the beginning of the deal of the interview. We've had crazy stuff here with preparing for the storm and everything else. And I hope everyone's also safe out there tonight. That's a big storm, and everyone up there in Tallahassee and all throughout are hunkering down tonight. Please be safe throughout this whole thing. Don't take it seriously. It's a big storm.
Yeah. By the way, I was out for a run tonight, and I was talking to Doug Dean in Birmingham about doing a show Saturday, and I got back, and you and Audrey had been talking. I didn't realize what was coming and what's going to happen. So not going to do a Saturday show from Auburn. We got to take, number one, Brendan's going to be hunkered down. We're worried about y'all just being okay and power and everything like that. We'll find a better weekend, but safety first. But I got to say, man, watching that as everybody on the Florida coast is getting ready. I've got good friends in Steen Hatchie. I've got them in Spring Hill. A lot
Perry,
of places.
All that
places.
They just took a shot, and we don't mean to make this about a show. A lot of people are just listening and probably get a break from that, and we'll get back to Urban. But anyway, it just everyone be safe there. Everyone knows what to do. Floridians know what's up. Do your thing, Floridians. We all know. Get your stuff, get your power, whatever you're going to do. Have a plan. Everything else, get some booze. Because if you're not in the zone and the thing, but it looks like this thing's big enough where it's going to be talk about being on the dirty side of the storm, where it kind of swaths around. It's just like, Central Florida is going to take a lot of that. Just like, 40-mile-an-hour sustained winds for a couple of days. Look, it'll be fine. You just worry about losing power, everything else. Just look out for your neighbor. Be a good Gator. Be a good fan of, whatever, and look out for your friend who doesn't able to watch any sports on Saturday. So.
Well, yeah, and it's out there in the Gulf. The water's hot and the pressure's getting stronger. And I mean, I've been down there as a kid when some Camille came. I mean, I'll never forget that. That was, and it shifted during the night. But Frederick, that was a bad one. Ivan, you took 20 feet of seawall, just disappeared. So, hey man, Gators are off this weekend. I got to ask you, what Urban Meyer just said about Central Florida, I think it says everything. If you're worrying about that, that's not supposed to happen for the Gators. I thought that was really a telling comment.
Yeah. It really is. It's like, man, like he's talking to Spurrier. You know what I mean? They're having conversation. I mean, you just don't know what that really happens a whole heck of a lot. With legacy coaches. I know it happens. Out there, but it's just like. It's real. At one point, Buddy and Urban and Spurrier, we were going to do that whole thing up at Spurrier's restaurant about just the whole philosophy of winning.
Yeah, that's right.
And it never came together. I think we're going to do it in the off season this year. But it's just like it is like we talk about all the time, and it's. What he sort of alludes to is he said, well, I wasn't making fun. I wasn't bashing any coaches or he's like, I would never bash any coaches, but there is still a philosophy on how to coach and how to, on how people do things. And I think that, clearly that matters, if you look at his track record. So,
yeah. Well, and he talked about defense, and then I'm looking at these comments coming in because we've got the smartest audience. These people have high football IQs. Line of scrimmage, man. That is what you've got to have. The Gators traditionally have that, and any championship team is always going to have a lot of depth on the line of scrimmage. And now you got a week off. You got to win, but golly, it's just looking ahead who your coach is going to be. But Central Florida.
But just talking about when he was talking about Central Florida, he's like, you just can't. If they come in and beat you, that's bad. I was looking at an old interview from last year. It's like, he's talking about ETN going to Georgia. Yeah. He's like, he's like, I don't let that happen. You know what I mean? He's like, because I explain it to him, like, you don't do certain things like this way or whatever. And I don't care about NIL. I don't care about the rest of it. I think that is sort of the mindset. And I think that's what you see with Lane Kiffin, right? We're like, hey, don't pull this shit with me, like you're still going to follow my rules, money or not. And I think that's important.
Yeah. I mean, you got to have somebody in charge. And looking at Florida in this season coming in, Graham Mertz, everybody knows about DJ Lagway. you hate having a quarterback problem. Controversy. I hate that term. That means you don't have a quarterback. It has to be a situation where people have to think twice, unless they follow it as closely as we do. Who is the backup?
Right.
And that's where you want your program to be. And the longer this lingers, the more damage it does to the class of 25 in recruiting, because the damn December signing date has made it like this. I used to say, God, I wish we could sign the kids in the summer. And then we go to this December signing period. You throw in the portal, you throw in NIL. How are you supposed to get ready for a bowl game or a playoff when you're trying to keep your team together? It'd be like having, 85 kids and staying up all night waiting for them to come in. It's that. This is crazy what we have done. There is nobody in charge. And that's what we got to have is I hate politics. I'm just saying a commissioner, a small group. I like this General Clark, Richard Clark. I met him when you and I were out in Dallas for media days. He retired from the Air Force Academy in May as a lieutenant general in the Air Force. I expect a lot of good things. And Bill Hancock, who's been on our show with us a bunch, is going to do a great deal of work to help him transition into that role. But when Hunter Yurchek, Arkansas's AD, was up here last week talking about getting on the laptops and watching games and locking yourself up and paying attention, and there's certain games he can't watch. Just get the right people on that playoff committee. And you want your school in that conversation. Mm-hmm. Again, the longer you let an infection fester, the worse it's going to be.
It is. And I think, you can't read the tea leaves, especially with guys like Urban who are clearly out there and knows what he's saying and how he's saying it. And you got to wonder, is this groundswell just with Urban and, are there other, are there secret like Illuminati style meetings going on with like Saban and these guys are getting together, like talking about like maybe some sort of a hostile takeover to not lose the sport. I mean, I'm conspiracy theory, but one can hope for something, to come from this whole thing, because it really pains me more than anything to go through this interview and be a Florida fan and just a football fan and see a guy like him and his brain on the sidelines, right? Or even Saban, like it sucks to see Saban not like, it's great to see him on TV, but it's like, dude, you could still be coaching. You really could. And I hate to see these guys running for the hills because they're the stewards of yesterday, because they're the ones that are going to bring that pass forward, because of their lineage and who were their mentors, right? And I don't know, I hate to see that sort of lost in the shuffle, which I think is some of the most important traditions the SEC and at Florida has ever been about.
Well, people say they wanted Saban to retire. They want these great coaches. No, you don't. You don't. You may say you do, but you've got to have those leaders, the ones that people are fighting. It makes everybody's program better because everybody's trying to be that. And you can't all go out and hire every assistant that ever coached for Nick Saban or now Kirby Smart or in the day Coach Bryant or Steve Spurrier. That doesn't work that way. But you've got to have the common vision. You've got to get everybody on the same page. Where universities get in trouble is the president, let's say, isn't a football guy, which is a problem because, yes, but we understand academics are what the university is there for. The provost really runs the university. The president gets a game plan, typically given to him by the board of trustees. The provost executes it like the command master sergeant in a platoon in the Army or the Navy. That's who really knows what's going on, not the officer, the commanding officer, or the XO. It's that guy down there. My dad said when he joined the Army right out of college, Fort Stewart, he said, I didn't know a thing in the world about being an officer, but I was a second lieutenant. But my first sergeant, my staff sergeant, taught me everything. And you got to remember, you eat last. You take care of your men first. Coaching's the same way.
Well, think about it with Urban though. Like he has a very like he goes to SEALs training seminars and stuff.
Yeah.
He's always been about this. He's always been about special forces, but big military guy, military background, and you can see it in his coaching style. And for him, the Champions Club, not to digress, but I'm saying that wrong, but they ate first, right? Like if you started and you played, you ate first and you ate best because you earned your spot, right? And it just really was a different, maybe it was crazy. Maybe it was sort of nuts. Maybe it was crazy the way we hear about how, Brandon Spikes and Tim Tebow were pitted against each other in the locker room and, Swamp Kings. Maybe it was all nuts, or maybe it's all genius, right? But the point is that there was a plan to win, right? Yeah. And that was how he was going to go do it. And I think, what was never a part of that, sort of like maybe as like an antidote to like the plan to win with all the things at the bottom. And oh, by the way, throw half this shit out the window when you're talking about the SEC. See page B for SEC. As far as framework, because there's tradition and there's all this other stuff that goes along with it. And recruiting is a huge portion of that, because you're going into these houses and you're interacting at families in the South. We talk about this on your show, Rob, every morning. We're Southern Sports Talk. You're Southern Sports Talk. These traditions and these things, can't just erode. And I think, we don't want that to happen with the people, like I keep saying, who are the stewards of the past and these coaches, And I hope there's some sort of committee that comes from it, that we get their guidance in the future. And I hope there's somebody, wouldn't that be great to see some sort of a, 4 or 5 great coaches up there that will help shape the future of what's going to happen to college football. Because, as much as fan A and B and C see such a great message out there, a great product out there, I think that there is a rumbling amongst those who know that things, could go south pretty quickly, in this foundation that's fairly shaky. And especially if we don't have those people who've been so much a part of the last, 20, 30 years of making what we have to see us to the future.
Well, Florida's next president needs to remember he is the president of the University of Florida. Stop shitting on your legacies,
right,
and denying them admission to your school. You
That's
look
a big
around
one.
at other SEC schools, and they've got 65% in-state.
Yeah.
If the more Florida has shifted toward becoming the UVA of the SEC, or the UNC of the SEC, the worse the football program's gotten, the more angry their alumni are, whose kids are certainly qualified. We know some of them, people whose kids that are straight A students, because they want to get that kid from New Jersey or New York or California. Nothing against those kids, but they need to share the Florida values, the culture that is Florida. You talk so much about culture. You need a president, by God, who goes to the fraternity houses, the sorority houses, out on the student union, on the quad during lunch, and goes to the pep rallies and engages with the students. And I mean, it's not hard. My God, if I was a university president and I was offered an opportunity to be the president of the University of Florida, I'd be like Charlie and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory in the movie we never saw.
God.
Yeah, that would be me, because, again, as an Auburn guy, I have respect for Florida because it's been a rival growing up. That was part of my childhood. I mean, into my 40s. I mean, it is an awesome job. And now you've got feckless leadership. It's no leadership. There's no leadership. And these Gator fans, the more we do this show, the more we interact with these Florida fans, they want what Auburn fans, what Alabama fans, what LSU, what Georgia fans. They've got the biggest population in the South, with the exception of Texas, who's new to the party. And it's like nobody's listening to them. You've got a tone-deaf coach who conned Florida out of a lot of money. And in year 3, really doesn't know come here from Sikkim about what's going on with this football program. That's an old country term for folks down there in Crestview and, Sebring and Avon Park. But dadgummit, you've got to get people in there that care. I mean, I know the president of the University of Memphis, Dr. Bill Hardgrave, from his time at Auburn. He walks through campus to lunch meetings so he can interact with students. You can go in his office and meet with him. He'll meet you for lunch. And that's what a president, you should not be, I know someone who knows someone who is a gazillionaire who can get me a meeting with him. This is the University of Florida. It belongs to the people of Florida. And I feel like they have been shut out and left in the cold, and they're mad as hell, and I don't blame them. And they deserve better than this. I don't know. You knew Dan Mullen, pretty damn good football coach, but you cannot allow the people who have made these bad hires to keep making them. Maybe Scott Strickland, Franz was telling me, is a great fundraiser. Okay? Let him go do that. But get you a damn football coach in there like Buford Pusser, coming in there, swinging a big stick, going, I love the game.
That's it. But that you need version. You need a version of what happened before with Urban Meyer. I mean, look, Jeremy Foley, where you at, man? So we need to bring the swagger back in a lot of ways. Rob, we talk about this a lot, and like I have in 2017 just watching a lot of our fan bases like fracture and change with social media and all these things and Gator against Gator and all this kind of crap. And, it's like, I've always said one sovereign Gator nation needs to sort of rally around this whole thing, but it's hard when you're this gigantic fan base and people have opinions. And I used to get sort of like, well, why can't you just do like, you get behind the program and all these kinds of things. But, as you really dig in for year after year after year, you start to see, it's hard not to see what you see. And then it's not about anymore of like, oh my God, look at this and look at that and look at this, look at that. It's like, look, this just needs to get fixed. And like, you're right. It's about the leadership from the top down. And I understand Florida's in a precarious situation right now. I understand with all these different things, it's uncomfortable. And these things happen with big programs and whatever and whatnot. But it's just like, we have to sort of like take a collective breath and be like, and seeing Urban talk today. Yeah. It's like, that's what really makes me feel like, damn it. Like, God, it's like, what did he say? I'm prefacing. He says, look, if you're going to be the running backs coach at the University of Florida, you better be the best damn running backs coach in America. He's like, damn, if you're going to be the running back at the University of Florida, you better be the best damn running back in the country. And that's the mentality. Like where did that go? Like when did 5 and 6 women, God, listen to me. Woohoo. When did 5 and 6 wins be better? They're talking about like, having 9-10, win seasons. Like, when did this complacency and all of this sort of like take hold and I just feel like it's rotting and it sucks. And it sucks to think about this year. And it sucks to think about that you're going to lose to UCF. It sucks to get worried about the Vanderbilts of the world. It sucks to feel this way as a Gator because it's just not the way it's supposed to be.
Well, you know what I said on the show yesterday morning? I gave my speech, what I would say. I would say to the University of Florida guys before they ran out through the tunnel, there are 93,000 people that are going to fill that stadium tonight. Some of them have a lot of money and they're sitting in their luxury boxes, but most of them are scraping together the money. They're sacrificing, giving up a week at the beach. They're working 2 jobs. They're pulling from savings. They're sacrificing a lot. And you need to remember that when you run out there. If you're feeling sorry for yourself and worried about your NIL contract or where you're going to transfer to, you need to think about that. You are representing the University of Florida in an incredible history and tradition that came long before your ass got here. And it'll be here long after you're gone. We're just writing a few chapters along the way, but make it count. And when you come out of the locker room, you want to act like a jackass and blow off some kid that wants an autograph, you don't believe, I'm telling you, that's how I grew up. A wristband, a chin strap, an autograph, a high five. You know what that means to a kid, to the fans. We got to get back. Fans. This is the University of Florida. Who is the University of? Florida, New Jersey, New York, or California? I agree with what the guy says. Nothing against these people. They got their own universities. You don't see Southerners pouring to these other schools, but they come down here and then they infect your culture and screw up your winning. And
Yeah, take away Gator bait.
Yeah, taking away Gator bait. That's ridiculous.
That sucks.
That is absurd.
Sorry if after you get all racist with that. It's like,
that's
dude,
not. Oh God.
Like, I'm dying. Like the stuff like that. When I just look at old footage and I look at like, it's like, where's the teeth? Where's the like? There's no chop. There's no like. Like I've dug into the history of this more and more. It's like, what? What?
You know what? What's happened?
I still have to turn around and be like, what? Like, hey, how is that? Why did that happen? Like, where are we? Like, what dimension did I fall into where people are like, we're going to get a 7-win season? 7 wins? Like, 7 wins?
Yeah.
God, really?
Brendan, it's the continued assault.
I know people just, and by the way, the chat room, I don't even read it. And like, people can be pissed about it and think I'm preaching and all that shit.
You're not.
I don't care. I'm close to it. I'm so close to it every day.
Yeah, give yourself credit. You and your dad and friends and Lauren and Buddy. I mean, of course, your buddy, David Motley, everybody on this show. Ben, y'all know that you are the heart and soul of the Gator Nation. And we get to interact with the people that cover all 16 schools every day. We're talking with them about them. But I'm going to tell you something. The continued attempts to emasculate our culture, this is what you get. This soft-ass crap. Well, if we go 7-5 or 8-4, that's a good year. You know what I always say? What kind of record do you think your school's? I say, I expect to win every game. Tell me the games that you're not expecting to win, because I'm not going. Also, you've got to get the Gator fans engaged. This is their damn university. And you're talking about being a public Ivy. Really? Do you really want to have the crap going on?
I mean, didn't it drop? We just dropped 37 spots, I thought. Yeah. I mean, I don't even know. Like,
it's always been a great school. It's one of 6 universities in America that have a law school, a medical school, and a college of veterinary medicine. It's already one of those special 6 schools. But the more you get into this public Ivy crap, your football program's circling the drain. You need to go in there, get people in. You don't have feckless leadership at Florida. You don't have any leadership.
No. Dude,
you don't. That's a misnomer.
There's 2 seasons as a University University of Florida Gator fan. There are 2 seasons, and that's the way it's always been. There's football season, and then there's spring football. Like I don't care about basketball. Like, I'll watch. I mean, you know me, Rob, and we talk about. I'm like, sure, hell, I mean, I'm gonna pull for the Gator. But dude. I say it all the time. It's been sitting on my Facebook bio forever, and I just took it down a little while ago. It's like, is it football season yet? Like, that's all. Like you count it down by the second, I believe, this year. So it matters to me so much that it's my job.
Yeah,
like, it's what I do for a living. It's not a job. So it's like, I'd rather. And I know my father is and all that stuff, but it's like I've done other jobs. Like, I'd rather do this job because, like, that's how much it matters to me to be a part of something that I think is pretty special. And so it's hard when we're not, it doesn't feel special. You know, it's like people don't recognize us as that way, you know, and that hurts.
Yeah. Right now, Billy Napier is basically a dead man walking. Everyone knows he's going to be fired. And the longer this goes on, the more you're going to have to reach out to these recruits. They're falling further and further away because they know what's going to happen. You know, you've got to make a change, but it starts at the top. And again, these schools, University of Alabama is now 36% in state. You go to Tuscaloosa, I got a lot of friends, they got kids at Alabama, say, man, Rob, there's a New Jersey bar on this corner, California, Chicago, and it's changing. The students at Alabama, it ain't like it used to be. They did it because the university got greedy and wanted all that out-of-state tuition, and there are over 40,000 students now. The University of Florida has enough students to where they could be 80, 90% in state. Sure, they're going to take people from surrounding states, but quit trying to please everybody, because what you've done is you've tried to please everybody except the Florida fan base, your boosters, and your alumni in the Gator Nation. I get passionate about this stuff because you and I both spend a lot of time on this, but I don't hold back on anything that I really believe in. And the quicker Florida gets a Florida man who loves that university, who can recite verbatim your alma mater, your fight song, and knows the hit. Man, when I was a freshman at Auburn, we had to learn the fight song word for word, the alma mater, everything about that school. We had to know every building on campus named after someone in our fraternity. We had to know the history, the traditions, and the heroes. Get back to that.
The fan base is there, Rob. Like they're packed
I know it
out.
is. No question.
Like I've never seen a fan base that's more supportive. Like they may bitch and whine, but they show up.
But see, that means they care.
The Miami game was one of the most packed outdoor part of the games I've been sort of outside the swamp I've been to in a long time. I think a lot of the interest is there. Everybody wants Billy to do well.
Sure,
everybody
they do.
Wants this to everybody because he is a great guy, great recruiter. But you're right. It's I think you feel the anxiety as the clock ticks towards the December signing date. Because if you don't have your locked in guy, because that was Billy's thing, right? It's like a good recruiting 2025. It's always here we are. And and Lagway did helped so much in recruiting a lot of these guys. So it's there's so many question marks because you don't want to slide even further. Yeah. Right. So maybe we should start that thing. You remember the old movie Major League? What is it? The very first was Major League. It's Tiger's Blood. What's his name? The actor is in 2.5 Men or 3.5 Men or whatever it is.
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie Sheen. Yeah. He's in Major League. The movie Major League. He's
that was fun. That was one of the Cleveland Indians. That was
he's Wild Thing, right? And they had to and the owner didn't want him to win, right?
Correct.
So we're in Major League right now. By the way, it's just I've already thought of this in my mind. So it's I need to get remember they had to go on that undefeated run and they got the picture of some naked woman and they covered it with little shards of magazine parts, and every time they won, they pulled one off. I feel like that's what's happening in the Gator locker room right now. It's just we're in that movie where the ownership doesn't want you to win, but you're stuck as a lame duck. Right, the teams have to rally. So what do you got left? You got to win. So it's I don't know.
It's nothing against Billy Napier personally.
It's a weird situation.
Look at the product on the field. If you have a restaurant and you have a chef in there that you've hired, and the people, your customers at your restaurant, constantly are saying the food's terrible, steaks aren't cooking, the meat's terrible, the chicken sucks, the fish smells, then you're going to get a new chef. And when was the last time all you hear about with Florida, what I hear from out here, around in the Southeast, is we're a public ivy. I can't remember the last time I heard the University of Florida president say, we are the University of Florida. Our duty and our obligation is to serve the people of the state of Florida. They are our priority. Nothing against other people. Look, I'm an out-of-state guy that went to Auburn, but you know what? Bottom line,
win football games.
I give back. I have brought and given back to that school a lot, and I always will. But Florida people, nobody cares more about Florida than Gators. That's just how it is. Now you can but most of the time
we were trained by these guys too. It's it's like Johnny Ballpark Frank says on your show. I blame Spurrier, you know, because he's right. Because the Gators got used to winning and they bought into the same sort of culture, and now that sort of has been vapid from existence. For now, you have a generation. You brought this up, Rob, the other day. Now you have a generation of Gators that don't know what it's like to win a natty, to push that up in the air anymore. You have a generation. I'm so tired about hearing about soccer and softball. God bless those people and God bless those teams. And it's awesome. And I love sport and all that stuff, but it's man, none of those sports would have happened without all of that great success in the past in the football team.
Yeah. And you know what? I think what you've got to have is somebody, a football coach that comes in there and says, when he gets the job at Florida and says, I can remember when those Florida jerseys put the fear of God into people. The way we hit you on defense, the way we ran up and down the field on the offense and the special teams. He goes, and I can assure you this, nobody will outwork us, and we're going to be the toughest, meanest, get after your ass for a full 60 minutes football team in America. That I will promise you. And I won't put up with anybody being here that is not all in, okay? I got to deal with the portal, and I'll figure a way to deal with it.
But you got to have a
NIL,
name.
But you better
got to
love
have a name. You have to have. You can't go hire another Billy Napier. You can't do that.
You can't.
Like,
and
you had a couple of chances to have the cute hire, right? You went to the Sun Belt, thought this was going to be great. You poached a genius.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
You didn't.
You didn't.
Thought you did, but you didn't.
Yeah. Like you got to have like more than 5 to 10 plays in your repertoire in the first couple of games, and offense would be great. But like, look, I'm just saying. So now you can't go do that. So now everyone understands that you're going to have to pay this $26 million and say goodbye. But who are you going to get? So that means you got to pay even more money. So like, what do you look at it? You're going to give Lane Kiffin $12 million. Like, well, maybe you will. I mean, where's it going to come from, right? So it's like there is a lot of question marks. And meanwhile, now we are getting into the teeth. And Urban brought this up. We're getting into the teeth of this schedule, right? Like these wins and losses really are going to start to be very exciting and very painful.
Got a question for you.
Yeah.
Here's the question. How long do they give horses? How old can a horse be eligible to run in the Kentucky Derby?
I know.
Is it 2 or 3 year old? 2 or 3 year old?
I've never been much of a.
I
don't do thoroughbreds.
Okay, I think it's 2 or 3 years old in the Kentucky Derby.
Maybe.
How long are you going to give a coach to show any discernible signs of progress? 2 or 3 years. That's what you're going to give them. But here's what you got to have.
But doesn't that bar move every time a coach goes and turns around a program in like 2 years? Right? Like it doesn't that always seem to change? Like, well, look what they're doing in Miami. Look what's
got a question for you. You're a historian. Yeah. You've forgotten more about the University of Florida program than about anyone I know. You and your dad and this team.
I don't even know what day it is.
Yeah, it's Wednesday. I just checked.
Storm's coming. Storm's right down the hatches. There's a storm out there.
Guess whose number I got today, by the way? Mildred's. No. I got Mildred's cell phone number today. I digress.
From Feinbaum Show?
Yes. Yeah. So I got the number.
Is Mildred going to come on the show?
Very soon. So let me just say this. It's been a big day, but look, this is a question I have for you. What is the record of every Florida football coach, beginning with Charlie Pell, in their second year at the University of Florida? That's the question because I pull this number up, and if you look at successful programs, it's year 2. Usually it's 8 wins. You go back to 1979. Florida was 0-10-1 that first year of Charlie Pell. The next year, they were 8-4. I believe they beat the University of Maryland in the Citrus Bowl, Tangerine Bowl back then, 35-23.
Nice.
Wayne Peace.
Good catch.
Yeah, Wayne Peace was out of Winter Haven, Florida, was the quarterback. You had your running backs back then were Neil Anderson out of Graceview, Florida, Lorenzo Hampton out of Miami, and you had your other running back was out of Palatka, Florida, Jarvis Williams. Florida, you had Lomas Brown, you had Wilbur Marshall. I mean, I remember as a kid, you couldn't find a football magazine at the grocery store without Wes Chandler or Chris Collinsworth and those cropped jerseys, those tearaways. Florida football, even when you weren't great, was still exciting. I mean, everybody it was sexy. It was a lot of appeal to it. Florida, Urban Meyer, you couldn't be lucky enough, I guess, for him to come back. But it would be great to have him there as a Bobby Beathard type general manager role because he knows what it takes. I recommend, because I watched it this summer. Audrey and I watched Swamp Kings. I tell everybody now, if you love football, watch Swamp Kings and Sewanee1899unrivaled.org about that Sewanee team that won 5 games in 6 days. Do what?
And Rudy,
yeah. Because you know what? Walk-ons. Think about the walk-ons that we've all known, that what it means to walk on at the University of Florida. But people in Florida are losing their connection to the university. It's like they're being, this is just my take. It's like they're being pushed away. Well, we're good in volleyball and our softball team's great. That's wonderful. Football, what makes the grass grow? Football. That's what we got to get back to. You know what? You know what Franz Beer told us on the show last week, didn't you? If you always do what you've always done, you'll always be what you've always been. Very prophetic from Franz.
Yeah.
Franz is a wise man.
Yeah, so very, very confusing for me.
You got it?
Yes. Perry Mason, I must play it out. I'm for Billy. Hey, look, I'm for Billy as he can win. I don't think we have a choice. I don't think there's going to be anything I don't think there's anyone to get. No one's going to leave or go do anything. So I think it's just pretty much a wait and see. There's no, there's no smoke out there. I don't see any white smoke billowing out the top of the cathedral or anything like that. There's no Pope yet.
You know what they say when they have the Pope, when the white smoke comes?
Right. I haven't seen the tower hasn't changed colors yet. Perry Mason, I get you, buddy. I know, but hey, you know how I felt about this whole time. And I guess I'm just getting a little anxiety about watching the Gators go out there and lose to the UCF Knights. I think Urban's got me a little nervous about that. Hey, by the way, I wish I was going down on Saturday to go see the Buffs. Prime time is going to be prime time. It's going to be in town in Orlando. So
okay, that will be a cool game. But see, here's the thing that it's nothing personal against Billy Napier. If he was over on the side of the road with 4 flat tires, out of gas, I'd be the first one, and you would too, to pull over. It's look at the product on the field. It's very difficult when you're in the SEC. It's like you got a family of 16 children, and a bunch of your siblings are really doing well, and you can't even pass the GED. That's sucks, and it's frustrating. Because, no, you're smart. But look, it's very frustrating for Florida people because you've got this massive fan base. And the first time that the fans aren't pissed off after a loss, it will be the next step toward extinction of your program as you know it. The fact that they are raising hell in this chat room, making the comments that they're making, they don't agree with everything we're saying. I'm sure they don't. They may think we're crazy. But I'll tell you one thing.
Well, they know I'm crazy.
The more you know about your history, traditions, and heroes of your university, the harder you will fight for that school. And I wonder how much history that these coaches are teaching these kids instead of just a bunch of narcissistic spoiled
Because
brats.
It's all about how much now. You don't
how
have
much
time
am I getting?
to
How much
roll
am I
up.
getting?
There's no more dog and pony show.
Yeah.
It's gone. There's no more talking to mom and dad and coming in and eating green beans and having pork chops. Like all of that stuff is done. The home visits, all of it's done. How much?
Here's the thing.
Facilities don't even matter. So it's like great. I mean, they're nice, but it's like, do they make them soft? Like, hey, that's what I'm starting to wonder. Like, are these facilities just making them sort of soft? Like, no, maybe you should go back to running sprints in the parking lot.
Brendan, I've said this for years. University of Oregon built that Taj Mahal out there.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, all these facilities. How many national championships has that gotten them? Let me tell you what. You can make it too damn nice for people.
I agree.
I tell you, most people that I know that have a ton of money are first generation, okay? Because it works like this. The first generation employs, the second enjoys, and the third destroys, unless you make them work. So you've got to make them work. Blood's thicker than water, but money's thicker than blood. Remember that. But you've got to learn your history. And here's where we're going to fix this. The market will correct. And this will be a 25 or 30% correction because it's coming. What happened at UNLV with that kid out there that quit on his team, I don't know what the conversation, but I do know this about business. If you don't have it in writing, you cannot do any fighting. And if it's just a verbal agreement, Rashada, who knows? I'm just saying what's going on at UNLV, there will be repercussions. Wait until you have a kid in the Florida State game when Florida's rolling in a year or two. And before the game, he says, I'm not playing tomorrow in the rivalry game. What are you talking about? Y'all owe me $250,000. and I'm not going to play. You wait till that happens. There will be riots.
Yeah. Well, I can say right now that I don't know that I do know that I don't know that. Say last year there were some issues with people getting paid, but I think people still played. These things I think are going to be more of a problem going forward, depending how things work out. Hey, Mike M, I live in Colorado. I'm rooting against CU. LOL. Mike, do I know you? Obviously, my roots are in Colorado. So I've been to a few of those Buff games. And I don't know. I don't know what to say about. I don't know what to say about Prime, but again, another coach, another way. I'm happy to see any sort of, I guess, new football. It's fun to see that like CU's coming to Orlando. Right, these new matchups are kind of cool. So
they are.
I'm looking forward to playing it. So we're going to see a lot more Florida teams interacting with schools out in the West, which will be fun. Rob, thanks for coming on tonight, folks. Thanks you for your comments, good or bad. I don't, it's all right. That's where you have it's free speech in the show. Just don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
Too much of an asshole. Well, we can tolerate some of that assholeness. Rob, what do we got going on your show tomorrow?
Holy cow! Hey,
what's up? What are you doing tomorrow?
All right, we got Coach Matt Dean on, John Hartwell. We've got Gary Harris in Tuscaloosa. Jordan Hill covers Georgia, and we'll be going all over the SEC. But most of all, I am praying for the people down there in Florida in the path of this hurricane. Brendan, you're hunkering down.
Hey, I went and got an electric generator.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I don't get into the specs of it, but it's all solar power too. And I've got it all charged up with the car, plus a battery to power that. So that should power the internet enough to make sure that somehow, some way I can keep my streak going that I have yet to been denied to get the show on the air.
Oh, you're unbelievable.
I will find
you're
a way
a legend.
to get the show on the air tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Central. Rob, SEC Sideline Sports.
And Friday, we're going to have Chuck Lavelle. You've heard of him in the Allman Brothers, the Rolling Stones, and Pink Floyd.
Crazy.
Big football fan. It's going to be a lot of fun with him.
Is he going to come into the studio? Is he we have like a
We're
sound
going to have him
room
on the
for
link.
him?
We're going to have him on the Restream link. Yeah.
Oh, is that like in the SEC Sideline sound booth where he's going to come on like Howard Stern does?
I wish he could play a few notes of Comfortably Numb.
We're going to get him. We're going to get him.
Let me just say this. You don't want the Gator fans to become comfortably numb with losing. Fight back, Gators. Take your school back.
Just say that one more time. Just let people know that who's going to be on the show again, Rob?
Chuck Lavelle. He's a musician. He's really, really super talented. I was fishing with his cousin in late August up on the Spring River in Arkansas, and I said, "Hey, Wendy, are you related? You look like his twin." He goes, "He's my first cousin." He pronounces it Lavelle. Chuck Lavelle, great musician. He's played with George Harrison, the Black Crowes. Good God Almighty, so many people. Leanne Womack. Golly, the Rolling Stones called him the sixth Rolling Stone. He's pretty cool, but he's a big college football fan. I ain't going to tell you who he pulls for till he tells you.
No, you got to tease it. That's your Friday.
Yes, sir.
So I got to find a way to be on the air Friday somehow.
I know. Let me just say this, Brendan. Whatever happens, your safety's number one. If we have to rearrange things, we got that.
Not number one. We got to get the show on the air, Rob. That's what's number one.
P.T. Barnum, yeah.
I'm Buddy Martin's kid. Show must go on, man.
Well, you are tougher than a nickel steak. I'll tell you that. See you in the morning, man. God bless America.
God bless America. Stay safe out there tonight. We love y'all. We'll see you in the morning. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for watching.
Hey, go watch. We'll post Urban Meyer by itself. You can watch the interview later on the YouTube channel. Subscribe, hit the subscribe button. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for letting me be on.